The West Coast swing begins for us. Let's head on over to La Quinta, California for the 2026 American Express. And see, I already messed it up. There we go. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the 19th hole. Last week, I was on with Ian. You are going to see the other one of our rotation of hosts this week. I'll let him introduce himself. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me. This is it was a rebooted 19th hole. I did a few shows last year on behalf of Reading the Green, a golf media outlet that I co-founded over the last couple of years. But it's fun to kind of get the reboot and just mix it up with a different group. You guys did a fantastic job last week, and excited to get to be a part of this.
Awesome. Well, we are glad to have you. Happy to be working with you. And it's a perfect segue because now that you're a member of the IBT family, I can always recommend that all of our viewers, all of our listeners join the IBT Golf family. The IBT Golf family is our brand new way to connect with the In-Between Media team, specifically on the golf side. You are like I said, free to join. You get access with our chat with all of our analysts, memorabilia giveaways, as well as our one and done competition where you can compete with myself, Mike, Ian, Seth, and many of our other friends over here at In Between Media. If you want full access to our betting cards and our betting model that I produce over there, you can upgrade that for $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. And if you're asking, I bet on other stuff. It's not just golf. Well, that's perfect because we also have the IBT football family, the IBT racing family, the IBT entertainment family. You'll find me on way too many of these, basically everything but NASCAR. I don't get the cars driving in circles, but I got the rest of it. I'll let our geniuses over there handle it because they absolutely kill it on the racing side. If you guys want to join, you can join for free at in-betweenmedia.com/chat. or with our link in the episode description. And as always, if you guys are tuning in from 101.5 FM, Talking West Tennessee, we are happy to have you listening as well. And if you're listening on the radio, don't hesitate to join that Discord and make sure to follow us elsewhere. But with that being said, Mike, we've got some news this week, so let's talk about it. Let's head on over to the news Niblick. Starting us off this week, Chris Gotterup wins. He cracks the top 20 in the world. Mike, this is a conversation I feel like I've been having with 15 different golfers so far over the last year or so, that at the start of 2025, nobody had heard of them. They were sitting outside the top 200 in the official world golf rankings. And with Gotterup's win, he jumps all the way up to 17th, his highest placing in the official world golf rankings. What is it about 2025 where we have guys like JJ Spawn, Ben Griffin, Chris Gotterup, having these ascensions and getting up into the top 20 is the standard of competition, the standard of play on tour getting better, or are these guys just working their butts off?
First of all, I'm going to make a suggestion to our team on the bunker shot in that montage. We're going to change that to the Keith Mitchell toe down chunk sand wedge from the Sony Open because that thing has gotten some chatter.
I'm like, what is he trying to, I get that it's plugged, right? It's a plugged lie, full fried egg, nothing good about it. Is he just trying to hope that the club flaps open when he makes contact? Is he trying to punch it out of the bunker with the toe? What's going on here?
I mean, obviously toe in is typically a setup for hitting a fried egg like that. So you get a little more dig on the club. I've never seen someone go straight toe on ball.
Yeah, that was
honestly, I think it was just, I couldn't keep it on the green if I hit it flush.
Right.
I was going to leave it in the bunker anyway. So I don't know. Keith is always good for something. I'm sorry for the tangent. You asked me a completely different question. Yeah. Okay, here we go. What is it about the ability for these guys to rise so quickly? I need to do the math on this. There's something about the signature event setup that is almost creating like an echo chamber of players that play well and stay well. And that's the whole point. We're going to get people to get into the system, and then we're going to keep them in the system. So when you're getting 700 FedEx Cup points for a signature event win, and it's exponential how much more ground you're gaining when you get into that circuit. I think that has something to do with it. I don't feel like I have to say the 3-letter word, the other tour, but like it's a different talent makeup. It's a smaller pool, and the points work different.
Right.
So I think there is something about guys can just, you catch a heater and you rise up very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great example. Like Gotterup is a great example of that. Going into the John Deere Classic, he's sitting at 125th in the world, if I'm reading this right around there. He wins. He places well at John Deere. He wins the Genesis Scottish Open, jumps nearly 70 spots in the ranking, follows that up with a third at the Open, a top 10 at the 3M Open following that, a top 10 at the Tour Championship, and then the win here last week at the Sony Open. Like, it takes a few good weeks to get significant jumps here, especially like you mentioned, with the live players not getting official world golf ranking points unless they're playing on the Asian Tour, the DP World Tour, or in one of the majors. Sure, that's some of them, but I feel like the way the system is set up, like these guys being able to win and get these FedEx Cup points are really helping their world golf ranking status.
Absolutely. Can I ask you something about Gotterup? I mean, I have my take on him. Like, where do you stand? Like this guy, he's top 20 in the world. There's a lot of guys that they get to be top 20 in the world that, we'll probably forget about in a couple of years, but does he have staying power? Are you a fan? Is he going to draw eyeballs on the weekend? Like, what's Chris Gotterup doing for the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I kind of compare him to like a less exciting Max Homa. Like when Max Homa was really getting high up in the rankings, like his game just plays so well in so many places before he decided to go through that swing change and ruin himself for a year and a half. But if you're like me and you've been through a swing change once or two in your life, sometimes it's necessary. He's a guy where it's like week in and week out, you kind of recognize the talent. You recognize that there's some upside there, but like, I don't know. He's never going to be like a household name. He's never going to be a Spieth. He's never going to be a JT, but he's going to be a guy that golf nerds like us, we're going to recognize when Chris Gotterup's in the field and when he actually has a chance to win. It's obviously hard in the days of playing with Scotty, playing with Rory. Like you walk into most tournaments, assuming those guys are 1 and 2, and you got to figure out what the rest of the field's going to do. But like, I really like his game. He's a super strong driver of the golf ball. His putter can get red hot. It can be ice cold too, but he definitely has some upside there. Pretty solid around the greens. It's really like if he can find a way to get more consistent with the irons, for me, he definitely has staying power in the top 20.
Yeah, he is. I mean, what I like about him is he is an artist out there with his shot making. I mean, there was a couple of segments that I saw, especially on Sunday, where he's going low bullet fade off the tee, followed up by a high right to left bomb over some trees on the next hole.
Right.
All the shots in his bag. The ball works both directions. He's got kind of a goofy follow through because he's doing so much at impact. And I think, that's why he's such a strong win player. And you shouldn't be surprised if he wins the Genesis and he plays well and obviously wins here in a windy Waialae. The thing that it's so natural to compare him to Brooks because he rocks the swoosh. He kind of's got like the bravado beefcakey vibe to him.
Right.
But you put him on a microphone and he's like in tears after each milestone. So I think there's a sensitive side to him too that
for sure.
I don't know that I'm going to be getting my Chris Gotterup jersey anytime soon, but he's a fun guy to have flash in there every now and then.
Plus, it's fun to watch a guy who just doesn't strap up the glove. He's just out there.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm making this a lot like Brooks. It just kind of feels like sometimes he's just making it as easy as he can for himself. It's like, I get enough grip. I don't need to do the Velcro. It's fine.
Just pure athlete. Yeah.
Speaking of pure athletes, this is a great segue. One of the best pure athletes on tour, Rory McIlroy. Knives are out. No more blades. He's joining us plebs playing cavity backs. Now, Rory has been playing his own model of blades that it felt like he was never going to get rid of them. He's always played them. He's played some version of them. And all of a sudden he's saying, I need a little more forgiveness. Is he going to be one of the guys that's going to get more even high level players to think, all right, maybe I don't need blades anymore? Or is this just a sample of, it's Rory, he does tinker with his equipment from time to time. He's 36, almost 37. He's getting up there a little bit more. Is he truly looking for more forgiveness, or is this his way of making golf a little bit easier so he doesn't have to practice 60 hours a week?
I remember being 13, and I think I was getting my first pair of like real irons. I had a pair of like Ping ISIs, those big, meaty, offset, heavy Ping irons. And I was getting my first pair of real like players irons. And I went in to get fit, and I was like, well, I want those blades. And the pro was like, nobody plays those. Like I play cavity back. Right. My peers play. Everyone plays this. No one plays blades except for the tour pros. And this is 20 some years ago. I'm not surprised. I actually would be interested in the statistics on tour. I should have looked this up before we came in. I bet there are more players playing cavity backed or muscle backed irons than pure blades. It just, unless you are trying to wield a paintbrush out there, which this wasn't about Rory. That's not really his game. He's got kind of one trajectory with the irons. It's why I think in some places where it requires a little more creativity in the greens, I think about like Bay Hill, and I know he's played well at Bay Hill over the years, but a place that's firm, fast greens. Rory's not working the ball so much, and I kind of I think like that. If this is going to get him, a few more greens around, look out. Look out. I don't think his game needs it.
100%. Yeah, that's the thing you hear the most when people talk about playing blades or wanting to play blades. It's wanting to work the ball both ways. It's consistency of strike, and if I miss with the blade, it's going to do this. If I miss with this club, it's going to be short right. It's going to be short left. I'm going to lose however much it is. I mean, that was part of what Rory said. He realized that on his misstruck shots, he was losing 7 to 10 yards. And he was testing out the cavity backs with TaylorMade, and with the cavity backs, a misstruck shot, he was losing 2 or 3 yards. So that certainly is something that has to play with it. But like you said, he really just draws the ball. He's not a fader. If I see a fade out of Rory, I'm starting to get worried about the money that I've placed on him that week. Occasionally off the tee, you'll see one, but I mean, like you said, he plays a draw. He plays one shot. More amateurs could learn that, but
yeah, well, I was gonna say, and if I give a PSA, and as people get to know me a little bit more through the show, like I have a lot of stuff about playing golf for us regular folk that if we just embrace a little bit of it, we'd all get a little bit better. Play equipment because it works for you and it is fit for you. Don't play equipment because somebody else plays it or because it looks cool. And that goes right down to the irons. Get fit, play the ones that work the best.
And don't get me wrong, you can get fit and find ones that still look cool. I play Callaway Rogue ST Pros. 90% of people that I'm playing with think I'm playing blades. And then I'm like, no, these are hollow bodies. Like I'm a good ball striker. I want the forgiveness. Do I deal with a rocket every once in a while that goes like 12 yards longer than I planned? Sure.
If Callaway would stop strengthening their lofts so much, then that wouldn't happen.
I know. It's when I show people my bag, I carry a 48-degree wedge and a pitching wedge from my set, and they're like, but a pitching wedge is normally like 46, 48. I was like, yeah, my pitching wedge is 42 degrees. So I have a pitching wedge that's really a 9 iron. So just add a number. Don't feel bad that I'm hitting a 7 when you're hitting a 6 or a 5. Like you're playing 20-year-old irons that your dad gave you. I've got modern rocket ships out here. I did some quick research. So this was from Golf Magazine about 5 years ago. Of the 50 top tour players in strokes gained approach, 44% were playing cavity back irons. Only 26 were playing blades. And I think the way that most pro players, if they actually were brand agnostic, got fit for what's best for them, about 30 of them are playing a mixed set.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little more surprised Rory didn't go the mixed set route. Like I feel like he could have gotten away with going, he carries, I don't think he carries a 3 iron, but up to a 4 iron, like 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 in a cavity back. And then the scoring clubs, keep those in the blades that he's comfortable with. But I mean, he came out, he played well in Dubai in an event where it seemed like nobody really played that well. He was in contention going into Sunday, which is all you can really ask for. But, I think Rory going away from blades into cavities will get some of those pros that are still playing blades to go the cavity back route. I would venture that. I mean, there's a reason they exist. Like, they are more forgiving. You don't lose as much distance. Yes, you lose a little bit of feel, but we're talking about guys who, with hollow drivers, with faces of the driver that barely are legal limit, can tell you that they hit it 2 millimeters on the toe. Like, these guys have elite feel. They're elite. The worst ball strikers on tour are 8 handicaps. Like, these guys are like plus 8 handicaps. These guys are nuts. I don't think they need to play blades.
No.
Unless it's like perfectly ideal for their swing and their turf interaction and everything that goes with it. But give me the more.
Meanwhile, Bryson's playing 3D printed irons with a bulge in the middle. So, there's a lot of ways to get the ball where it needs to go.
Yeah. I think Rory at minimum is doing great things for the amateur game. If I have to play with less scramble partners that have blades that shouldn't, the better. We'll take that one as a win. Yeah. And lastly, on the news side of things, we have Mateo Pulcini winning the Latin American Amateur, getting invites as a result to the majors. The oldest Latin American Amateur winner of all time at 25 years old. I know that doesn't seem old, right? But I
was like, you started that. I was like, he's only 25.
Yep. It's the oldest amateur winner of history of this amateur anyway. What do you think of somebody who's still grinding the amateur ranks at 25? Even in Latin America, it's obviously different than America. There's a little bit more ways to go pro, more mini tours and whatnot here. But a guy like this, he goes to the majors, has a decent performance. Like, winning something like this could truly be life-changing for him.
Unfortunately, I think it is going to perpetuate the pipe dreams of a lot of my peers who are well beyond 25, who say, man, I'm just a couple of good rounds away from getting my PGA Tour card. And I'm like, tell me how. And it usually includes something like this, where there's some improbable victory at some tournament they shouldn't have been in. And now all of a sudden they're playing in the Masters. This is what is special about golf. This is why you and I play well beyond, whatever prime it is, not because we think we're going to earn a Masters invite, but because there's something left to grind on. And no matter what level that is for Mateo, this was playing in the Latin American Amateur. And good for him. I think it's you're right. It can be absolutely life-changing, or it could just be a bucket list item that he is going to carry with him the rest of his life, even if he heads back to a desk job. So I'm all for people chasing this dream. And I think this is the type of stuff that, yes, it will cause some chatter in the clubhouse, but all of us are playing golf because something great might happen the next time we go out. And for him, it's pulling one out and winning this huge event.
Yeah, I mean, he wins, like we said, gets into the majors. From what I can find off of a very quick Google search, he's playing roughly off a +5 handicap. So, right around the fringe of what we consider, like, you can start to think about turning pro. You still got some work to do. Like I said, most of these guys on tour are playing off of like 8 to 10 at their home courses. Scotty talks about having to give like 26 shots to his buddies. But like you said, it's all about, golf for so many of us is chasing the next great shot. Chasing the next shot that we hit, that we get to talk to our buddies about, or you texting all your friends who weren't playing the round with you. Like, I was 212 out, pulled 5-iron, dropped it to 6 inches, or I hold out for eagle, or whatever it may be. And I mean, obviously, like, if you're still playing these tournaments, he's played the US mid amateur before. So this is not like his first. He's clearly playing competitive golf pretty regularly.
Don't be fooled by the mid-ams that play at this level. It is a part-time job. Like, you have to work hard at your game to compete at this level. And another thing I'll, certainly share with our audience is the difference between the best player at your club on the weekend and somebody like Mateo Pulcini is astronomical.
Yeah.
It's astronomical. It's really hard. And I don't play golf with guys like this, but like, it's really hard to fathom, like, the best player, how much worse they are than somebody who's, pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah. He will very likely be nothing. And that shows you how hard it is to do what the elite pros do on a week in and out basis.
Yeah. I mean, I know, from just seeing screenshots posted on Twitter, you're right around scratch. I've gotten down to like a 2. We're probably pretty often the best player amongst our friends. He was ranked 174th in the amateur world golf rankings going into this event. This guy would have us closed out by the 12th hole. If we're lucky. Like these guys would dust us. And he, like you said, maybe he has no career. Maybe he makes a cut at a major or 2, turns pro, and we're talking about him as a major, or not a major winner, but a tour winner in 5-6 years. Who knows? That's the thing about golf too, is like, you can toil away forever on mini tours. You can play, Corn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour Canada, PGA Tour Americas, like whatever it may be. You could make enough money to survive, maybe, especially if you're, giving virtual lessons like a lot of these guys do, or pick up a couple sponsors or investors. Yeah, that's the thing in the small tour pro world. But who knows? This guy toils around for another 25 years, goes on to the Champions Tour, and maybe he's the best Championship Tour player of all time. He's not taking that title from Bernard Langer, but he might try. But that is enough of the news for now. And this is a perfect time for us to start talking about what we're all here for, the 2026 American Express. And we're going to start that out with the Caddie notes. I want to make fun of the guy wearing slippers in that drop right there, but the best round I shot in my life, I shot a 66 with no shoes on, so I can't make fun of it too much. But that's enough of that. Mike, why don't you go ahead and break down La Quinta Country Club as well as the other courses this week?
There we go. We get 3 courses on the road of this week. PGA West, we're going to pick up the Nicklaus Tournament course, La Quinta Country Club, and of course the Pete Dye Stadium course. Jake, you play any of these ever? You ever been down to the Palm Springs area? Get out to PGA West?
I have been near it. I haven't played it. California, surprisingly, for as much as I've been there, some of my best friends live there. My friends who live there don't golf, so I don't ever actually golf when I get out there, but I'd be lying if I said that these weren't, in like the top 50 courses I want to play before I die.
Yeah, well, certainly the stadium course. And I actually did have a chance to play it back in, this is, I think, 2016. I think this is before the AmEx really started. They did play, I think it was the Career Builder, probably back then, but you're playing, but I played it at the stadium course. And it's gone through a couple of renovations since then. But it is exactly as it's described. This is a Pete Dye resort style course. You are going to be challenged to find the right spots off the tee. Basically, avoid the water. It's kind of like TPC circuit. Just don't hit it in the water off the tee. But the thing that's really interesting about the stadium course here at PGA West is there's virtually no rough. The fairways will be overseeded, so they will be green. The non-fairway areas, which I won't even call rough, will be brown. And you can literally hit the ball almost anywhere. Now, there will be some houses and there will be some water. Stay out of that. But there's a number of holes that do run side to side, and you can be one fairway over and have beautiful approaches into the green. So we are going to talk a little bit about the stat profiles this week, but driving accuracy is not one of them. Avoid trouble. Don't need to be particularly accurate. Or there's really no penalty as long as, like I said, you just stay out of the penalty areas. So we get the 3 courses. We get a 54-hole cut. You get a pro-am with 6-hour rounds, and this becomes one of the most annoying weekends to handicap on the entire PGA Tour schedule. Like pretty much anyone ever talked about on X today in the golf content space is we're not really thrilled to do this, but it is an iconic venue. So let's, as golf fans, tune in and look for our favorite long shots to win in a week where really anything can happen. We do have you and I chatted a little bit before the show, Bermuda fairways, Bermuda greens. If you're doing your research, you are going to see that these greens are Bermuda. They are overseeded in the winters with Poa trivialis. And so what ends up happening is a lot of the Bermuda grain ends up getting dwarfed by all this Poa that goes in, but it's not Poa annua like you'd get at Pebble Beach.
Right.
It's Poa trivialis. So the grain's a lot thinner. It's not as bumpy. And effectively what you get is firm, fast greens that almost look like bent grass. And so I want to make sure that when you're doing stat profiles this week, we actually start looking at people that can putt under normal or bent grass conditions. Don't over-index on Bermuda putters this week because it's probably not the angle. And then obviously, famously, what do we get at PGA West weekend? We basically just get, this is probably the biggest birdie fest on tour, a birdie fest week on tour all year. You are looking for players that can go absolutely nuclear. Like we're going to see people shoot in the low 60 this week. Sepp did it. I think he had at least a 63 last year. But you want guys that can go on runs, that can fill it up. You're not going to the greens are small. You're not going to have particularly long putts. You just got to make a lot of them.
Yeah. Speaking of going low, like we've seen Adam Hadwin of all people drop a 59 here. It's like that. This is what is capable of this course, especially with the weather, low to mid 70s all week, almost no wind, no rain in the forecast. Like I've been joking that it's like playing the TGL, but outside. Like
that's a great comparison, but it will be like that. And I think for watching on TV, it'll get a little slow. Like for me, I like to see some of the venues. I like to see the 10-foot wall in the bunker on 16 and William Mao making a 13. Like that's like, there's going to be a little bit of excitement to tune into, but for the most part, I might be flipping it on late Sunday just to catch some views of the stadium course and see how low guys can go. There's not going to be a lot of action before that.
Yeah. With this course, we typically see the cut line hovering at like 9-10 under. This is as birdie fest of a birdie fest as we get. Average winning score here typically hovers between 24 and 26 under par. Nick Dunlap, as an amateur, set the course record here, tournament record at 29 under par just 2 years ago. Sepp Straka, who I am not convinced is real. I feel like when I look at Sepp, at least going into 2025, was like he's either in like the top 5 or he's dead last. There's no in between. But like you said, absolute birdie fest of a course. So here's what I weighted stat wise this week, focused on most of your traditional scoring stats. So strokes gained tee to green, birdies or better gained, strokes gained on par 4s and par 5s, as well as par 3s under 150 yards, strokes gained on approach, specifically in the buckets of 50 to 125 and then 200 plus, bogey avoidance. And I did combine some Bermuda stats with some POA stats to get my putting model kind of built. But like you said, the way this course is going to play is going to be very straightforward, especially with a Pro-Am setup. We're going to get easier pin locations. We're going to get slower than average greens, slower. They're still going to be fast by amateur standards, but for us, for the pros, that are used to literally putting on glass, basically, they're going to be comparatively slow. I will say with the POA overseed that we're going to see, these greens do have a propensity to get a little bumpier as the day goes on, but not an extraordinary amount. But it is worth noting that it will be a little bit harder to putt for the players who are playing a little bit later in the day. Mike, what did you weight this week in your model?
Very similar. Our models are going to look right there. Try to get some putting. I mean, putting is such a hard thing to weight on because it's so volatile, but some putting in the 5 to 20 feet range. Yep. Like I said, the greens are small. The course is going to play relatively short. You're not going to have a ton of 40 and 50 foot putts. You're not really looking at 3-putt avoidance. So I did throw in a few statistics around putting on the shorter side. And then the other stat that I would maybe throw in there is on scrambling. So you end up on this golf course with, because you have small greens, you do end up with some chances where you got to get up and down, but you do have a number of places, par fives particularly, and some shorter par fours, right? We have a number of par fours that are going to play between 350 and 400 yards. So what ends up happening for the guys that hit it long is you're going to have these 40-yard wedges, 50-yard wedges. So even inside your proximity bucket of 50 to 125, I like scrambling as another dimension to add to the model here.
Yeah, that's a great note. And it's also important to note, guys, that when we're looking at the statistical profiles of this course, we are building this exclusively off of the stadium course in terms of the actual shot link data that we have, because it's 2026. And we don't have shot link on all the courses we play. What are we doing?
Unbelievable. I feel like that's contrived by the PGA Tour just to force the folks in like this space to just have a hard time every now and then.
I think so.
We're just going to give you half the data you could possibly need. And it's another reason why when we get to the picks, like just you can't get too exact with this. You got to expect some wildness.
100%. And speaking of those picks, we are about to get right over there. But first, I do want to give a shout out to WannaParlay, one of our sponsors over here. WannaParlay creates a fun and exciting competition that connects people. It embodies the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you experience during competition. From the brains of two former Kansas State college football players, it's all about stacking legs, competing with real sports lovers like myself, and getting real cash wins every single day. You can 1,000 extra money and cash out fast. If you are ready to get in the game and flex those parlay legs, make sure you download the app for iOS and Android, and you get a 100% deposit match when you use code IBT at signup. That's code IBT to get a 100% match bonus with WannaParlay. The link to that will be in the episode description, but I think it's time that we talk about it. Let's head on over to the Club Twirls. Bo and Connor, I love you guys. I appreciate that you built the 19th hole for me to take over one day. But man, I got to get my swing on that video. We got to upgrade the swings in there. What do you say, Mike? Let's get him some.
I'll send you some video. Yeah.
Let's get some swing videos in here. But I want to start off, like you mentioned earlier, kind of talking about our impressions of the odds, what we're kind of looking at. I know you have some opinions that I very much share about the high end of the book here, but where do you kind of stand on this tournament as a whole? And where do you feel most comfortable looking to spend some money this week?
The average odds of winners over the past 13 years on this golf course is 131 to 1.
I thought last week was bad at 96 to 1.
131 to 1. Long shots play well here. We know this. And yet we're going to look at the board and we're going to do it today. We're going to spend time talking about players that are 50 to 1 below. And the reality is I am generally fine. Now, I'm more of a DFS player, but we're going to go through betting picks here. On the DFS side, I'm going to plant a flag of somebody in that $9,500 and above. I'm going to plant a flag, and then it's going to be shotgun the rest of the way.
Yep.
And effectively what are triple-digit players. And that's just because those are the guys who are going to win. And so we'll start with the very, very top, and we talk about Scotty for a minute, because we get to watch Scotty Scheffler play golf this week. Like, let's again remember, we are golf fans. He is a generational talent. We all love watching him. He is going to play golf on TV this weekend, and you should enjoy that. But Scotty, let's see. Let me get a fresh number here. But Scotty's $14,200 on DraftKings and DFS, and he's plus 280 in DraftKings Sportsbook. I have never seen a DFS slate with a $14,000 player and no 5K range on DraftKings. And we are now looking at Scotty Scheffler being effectively 10 times as expensive on the betting board as the next bet is Ben Griffin. So it's just insane where he is priced. And that makes him absolutely untouchable. And what it also does is it's going to create a lot of other volatility in the board where you're going to end up on the odds board with a whole bunch of win equity that's sitting at like 200 and 300 to 1. It's like, it's actually kind of comical the players you can get down there because it's the Scotty effect. And the same thing's going to happen in DFS pricing. So, I mean, I think the first question is you come in and you say, like, just Scotty or not Scotty? Where are you at?
I'm not Scottying. I did a DFS show earlier this week, and I basically said, like, I can't think of a good reason to spend $4,000 more on Scotty than spending $4,000. Like, I can't do it. I can't spend $4,000 more on Scotty, then Patrick Cantlay, then Ben Griffin, then Ludwig. Like, the juice just is not worth the squeeze there by
he has to win.
Realm.
He has to win.
He has to win.
And even then, it's probably not even worth it if he wins, because of everything else you would have had to get right. And I'm also a little worried too. I don't know, curious where like his ownership is going to play out on the DFS side, because if people are playing Scotty, they're going to end up forced to play a whole bunch of players in the 6 and 7K range. And it's going to draw the ownership up on those players, which is where I want to play this week, but I won't get the leverage. And so it's just I almost feel like from a DFS strategy, and then we can get back to the betting side, it's like you almost kind of want to live in that 8 to low 9K range, because I think that's going to get totally skipped. And I think there's going to be a little bit of leverage there. So I'm kind of excited to get into some builds later this week. But for me, if I'm looking at the top of the board and I'm going to plant a flag, his number right now, looking at, I did this yesterday, it was 20 to 1. Now he's 25 to 1. But Sam Burns has been absolutely lights out on this golf course the last handful of years. Obviously, he's got 3 made straight cuts. He's got 4 top 20s and is 6 times out on this golf course. And he absolutely annihilates things on the greens. I mean, he's a fantastic player. He's the top putter on the tour overall.
Yep.
But he's consistently gaining 4 to 8 strokes on the greens over the 4 days at PGA West, which is just crazy. He actually had a really nice, he played in September before the Ryder Cup, and then he played at the Hero World Challenge. He actually had a nice end to his season. I do like Sam Burns this week. I saw a little clip of him. We talked about equipment. He just upgraded his driver to the Callaway Quantum, took like 6 swings with it and said, this is going in the bag. So I hope he hits the ball plenty long and plenty straight off the tee to get himself in position to go crazy on this golf course. And so 25 to 1, I still think this is a long shots week, but I like Sam Burns on both the DFS and the betting side as a upper level flag plant.
I would agree. And I'm actually going to steal one of your players. I didn't put him in here myself because you already had him in here. One of the few guys I like at the higher end as well as Harry Hall, getting him at 30 to 1. Like you mentioned, you don't need to be a great driver of the golf ball here, but top 10 in driving at the Sony, also one of the top 10 putters on tour. He is the epitome of a boring English golfer. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. He's going to hit the ball. He's going to go find the ball. He's going to hit it again. Once he's on the green, he's going to take 1 or 2 putts, and we're going to have ourselves a day. And that's going to be the Harry Hall experience. Do I think he can win this event? I don't know. I feel more comfortable with him on the ladder, but 30 to 1 half unit play. That's one thing we wanted, we very heavily talked about is like, we're going to be sub unit on most of these plays just because it's such a volatile course in terms of who's going to win. I mean, Hudson Swafford won here twice. When was the last time you heard that name? Probably when he won here in 2022. That was probably the last time you heard that name.
No, the last time you heard it was when he camped outside of whatever PGA Tour event, thinking he could get back on from Live and like capture Jay Monahan in the parking lot or something like that. That was the last time I heard Hudson Swafford.
Yeah. Long story short, it's been a while, but Hall is one of the true like favorite tier players that I can get behind a little bit. He's a guy who I always love for DFS. He always scores really, really well. He's one of the most underrated scorers on the tour. So his birdies are better, always rank out very, very well when I build my model. But past that, starting to get more into that mid-price tier, we have some different names here. So that's going to be fun to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and start us off here with your highest price player at Kurt Kitayama?
Yeah, Kurt Kitayama, this is going to be making his debut for the year. He did play last week at Sony, finished in 40th. He played last fall, played all right. What I like about Kurt this week is that he has been driving the ball particularly well the back half of last year and then into this year. And we know he's going to be a solid approach player. If Bo was here, he would be telling us about how he played golf with Kurt's brother growing up, and he's been on the bag for Kurt probably and all those things. But he's a California guy, familiar with this type of golf course, this type of area. I think this could be a week. You're looking for Kurt. Kurt's not a great putter, but you're looking for him to have one of those weeks where maybe he catches a little bit of fire and can find a way to gain 3 or 4 strokes with the putter. So I did look at Kurt particularly for his game off the tee. And again, 45-1, we're still lighter than I'd like to be looking for winners, but I do think there's some opportunity with Kurt.
I agree with you there. I'm going to the former winner. Well, it works sometimes. Maybe not, but we're going to try it anyway. It's Siwoo Kim. You can get him currently at 50-1. A previous winner here, won here in 2021. What I really hate about Siwoo Kim is just the true volatile nature of his game. Like the guy the way I described him is like one round, like a Thursday, he can come out looking like prime Tiger Woods. And by the 9th hole on Friday, he looks like my buddy who just finished his second 12-pack on the back 18 of our second 36. Like a guy who's just absolutely not meant to be on a golf course. But with the layout that we get this week, an easier setup, like you mentioned, you can really hit it anywhere as long as it isn't a house or in the water. That takes away some of the volatility of Siwoo's game. He's not always been a superstar here. I think that's important to note. It's not like he's one of these guys, like there's some sneaky names like an Alex Smalley, JT Poston, who are like perpetual top 25 guys here. He's been good here, but he has gotten worse every year since his win. He followed his win up with a T11, then a T22, T25, last year a T51. Where I do believe in Siwoo a little bit more than usual this week is he's on a stretch of really good golf. Dating back to the FedEx St. Jude Championship, tied for 14th. His worst finish since then is tied for 21st. He's got multiple top 5s in that span through both the PGA Tour and DP World Tour. So playing some really solid golf. And even though he's not a great putter, has consistently putted well enough here that he can stay in contention. It's going to be a matter of, can he be good Siwoo for 3 rounds? I hope on these easy course setups he can, but it remains to be seen. I would feel more comfortable if this was sitting at like 65-1, but half unit play, again, I'm not going to be stressing it too heavily.
Yeah, we're really just in this dead zone here where I think we're going to go to the next name and another guy that you end up in this anywhere from 30 to 60-1 range, and you know what's not going to happen, but you feel like you're getting a bit of leverage with guys with upsides. But the next guy that I had on my list, Michael Thornjorsen. This is an Ohio kid with California ties, went to Stanford, actually played pretty well this fall. He took 7th at the RSM, he took 3rd at the Bay Kern, 13th at the Procore. So this is going to be his debut on the PGA Tour this year. Tons of length off the tee. And the model that I built, I had Michael Thornjorsen in my top 10. I actually felt he was a better version of Kurt Kitayama. Solid ball striker, great off the tee. Performs better in the putting buckets that I was looking for. I wanted a guy that was going to have a chance to make a ton of putts inside of 20 feet. And that's where I thought he had the edge over where I had modeled Kurt. And so I kind of had both of those guys. If I'm building my card, I'm probably picking one of them. They're about in the same spot on the odds board. My lean is probably Thornjorsen this week.
I would agree. I would rather. I trust Thornjorsen's game here a little bit more than I trust Kurt's game here. And like you said, with the putter, with the dual weighting that I did of both POA and Bermuda to get here, he actually came tied for 14th in strokes gained putting. So he's a guy who can putt well on this kind of hybrid surface that we're dealing with here. So I do like his upside a little bit more. The next one is just breaking the mold of what I talked about with Siwoo, a guy who's played well here, a guy who's done well here. I kind of like Akshay at 60-1. Has Akshay ever made the cut here? Nope. Hasn't done it. Yep. Has not done it. Hasn't been particularly close, if I remember correctly either. But I do think his game has developed a lot from the last version of Akshay that we saw here in 2024, namely with the putter. He's one of those guys who went to the broomstick putter and had a real turnaround of his game. He still has weeks where he'll lose it. Certainly we saw that at the Wyndham, lost nearly 2.5 strokes on the field in terms of true strokes gained with the putter. but we've also seen him have some absolutely nuclear weeks, like at the PGA, where he gained 2.5 strokes with the putter. He's a little bit more all over the place, but Akshay can score, and that's what's going to win this event. Is Akshay can score with the best of them, even when he's not playing well. He'll be a guy that'll rattle off 5-6 bogeys in a round, but he'll rattle off 7-8 birdies in the same round to get himself right back in contention there. If the putter cooperates, like I think it can, he's got some upside here, and he's where I'm, like I said, this 60 range is where I'm actually starting to get intrigued by the plays.
Yeah, you talk about guys, you talk about going low and looking at guys that can go low. And yes, there are some anomalies with where players showed up. Like Sepp winning last year, it felt like this was a bit out of nowhere. I really like players that are not that far removed from either their Corn Ferry days or their I got to try to prove myself days, because you want guys that know the feeling of just hitting the gas when the round gets going. If you look at guys that are some journeyman players, and this is something you look at this last week, someone like Patrick Rodgers, who just really can't get it done in the moment. Yep. I mean, this guy's 10 years on tour without a win. And you start to question, like, well, you get comfortable. You get comfortable in your job. Hey, this is how I know how to make pars. I know how to avoid trouble. I'm going to keep my card.
Right.
But at a week like this, I want guys that are like pretty close to being hungry and know what it feels like to be 7 under and hit the gas.
Yeah, you don't want the Kevin Kisner, why do you still show up? They give a lot of money for 20th place.
Yeah, that's just not going to work this week. So there's a couple of guys. We get down here, there's going to be a couple of guys that, I know Akshay's somewhat removed from this, but I agree. Like, you're going to want these players that we've seen them do it, and you're just hoping you get on the right week.
Where Akshay, I think, has a little bit of that fire is, if you believe the rumors that he just turned down a very significant offer from Liv.
Yeah.
Maybe he's wanting to prove that he made the right choice of turning down probably life-changing money. $100 million is what has been rumored, it being a 9-figure contract. So hopefully he's got a little bit of that fire back here. You've got one last guy that falls into this tier before we start getting to the true long shots of the event. Tell me a little bit about Pierceson Coody.
Pierceson Coody, he modeled well for me this week. He modeled up. He was 4th in my model. As strong tee to green game, strong, hits the ball a ton, and then can annihilate par 5s. And the only thing is, this is not a secret. So this is probably for me more trying to get, he was 8,000. He was 8,000 yesterday. And I thought that was going to be a better spot than 7,000 today. The cat's kind of out of the bag on Pierceson. He played pretty well last week. I think he finished T13. So probably not a DFS play for me. I think he's going to catch a little bit of steam this week. Mm-hmm. But I do think the stat profile, again, fits somebody that's not, he played a Corn Ferry event in October, the Tour Championship. So like this guy's, and I like, for those that are not paying attention to the Corn Ferry Tour, and this has been the case since like I was a kid and whatever the tour was called at that point.
The web.com.
You need to shoot 65 every single day on that tour to do anything. I'm not even saying win, just to like be relevant.
Yep.
And so guys, this is the whole Scotty Scheffler effect of like when Scotty came on tour and he showed the ability to go nuclear, is because that's what they were used to doing.
Right.
And there's a whole psychology aspect to this that is for an entire different show. But that's what I'm saying, is if we can catch some guys that are not that far removed from knowing what it's like to shoot absolutely insane numbers, Pierceson's that guy for me. And so I think the stat profile fits really well. He had a great year last year between the PGA Tour and the Corn Ferry Tour, follows it up with a T13 at the Sony last week. I think he's well positioned to have a good week this week.
I agree. I like what you said about his game. Par 5 scoring is probably one of the more underrated stats, I think, this week. In an absolute birdie fest where you get 3 straight days of 4 par 5s, like, you're going to need to go 3 to 5 under on 4 holes to stay in contention every single day. You're going to have to go absolutely nuclear consistently. And his distance, his game plays so well on par 5s that he could sneak into, top 5 contention and be a name that we're looking at on Sunday. Now, you just talked down on this guy, barely so. It was about, like you said, 10 years, no wins. Maybe this is the week. I don't know. It's probably not. I'm going to try it anyway. At 140 to 1, Patrick Rodgers, a guy who my model does like, probably not as much as it should for me to have some confidence in this guy at 140-1. But he came in 25th in the field, one of the better putters in the field, pretty consistent throughout the rest of the game. Really, the only issues that popped out for me, some of the strokes gained on approach is a little bit tough for him. Good drives gained. He falls just shy on both of those stats of being about field average. But being about field average in this field can be enough. Like if your worst parts of your game are average, like you're gonna put yourself in a decent spot. And Rodgers is probably he's the highest price of the long shots for me. The next two guys I'm going to talk about quickly here are at 300-1. So you want to jump the long shot train. Like it definitely gets better from here in my opinion, but Rodgers is kind of the start of the long shots where I start to get a little bit intrigued. Like you said, he hasn't won. We don't know if he can, but he's on tour. He's playing in a birdie fest. He can score. There's a chance.
And that's the thing about this golf tournament is it is going to Scotty Scheffler can play in it. And like we'll know, Scotty Scheffler has never finished inside the top 10 in this event. So like it's going to level the playing field. And if there's a tournament that Patrick Rodgers is going to win, it's going to be something like this.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have one guy that I absolutely love in here. I feel like I talk about him every week on every show and every article I write. So I'll let you chat about him this week. My boy, Luke Clanton.
Luke, how has he not won an event? I mean, I know he hasn't won an event because he's only played about 10 of them, but like they had that stretch 2 years ago where he was top 5 every single week.
Yep.
I know that he really had a tough fall and back half to his PGA Tour season. A lot of red in his data golf profile. And so there's no reason to walk in this week and say, well, I think Luke Clanton's got it. He's going to make his debut. He missed the cut last Thursday. I missed the cut last week at the Sony. But the reason I want to play Luke Clanton this week is because I can get him at 250-1.
Yeah.
And this guy has shown the ability to hang with anybody on tour. He actually had, a great end to his college season. Ton of distance off the tee. I think that this is a place again where we've already rewarded someone like Nick Dunlap as an amateur.
Right.
That this course can elevate a player like that against the best in the world. He's got to win somewhere. We get him a pop putting week and he's in contention. 250-1. I like this part of the board is absolutely insane with how much upside you can get for guys that are going to pay off big time.
Yeah. So speaking of two guys that have even longer shots of winning this event than Luke Clanton, Chandler Phillips is a guy, great mustache. First of all, have to point that out. As a mustache haver myself, I wish I had his. It's better. But again, a younger guy who can really show up and win an event, and at plus 300, I don't know if you use data golf the way I do, but I like to look at their projections to kind of play the odds a little bit. There's more plus EV plays this week than anybody else. And I've never seen one as green as Chandler Phillips at plus 300, just insane odds. And that was a lie because the next guy, you want to talk about a guy who, like you mentioned, coming off the Korn Ferry Tour, knows what it takes to go low, to go nuclear, had an insane, first event on the PGA Tour, goes out and wins it. Michael Brennan, you can get him at 300-1 on Caesars Sportsbook. And that was like 50-1 better than any other book. The next closest was 25-1. DraftKings, I think, had him at 20 or at 200-1. So just insane odds on a guy that we've seen come out and win and has not really slowed down in any way. When you look at what he was able to do on the Korn Ferry Tour, like obviously just an absolute elite end to his career there. 4 wins, 3 wins in his last 6 tournaments, last 2 tournaments on PGA Tour Americas, not Korn Ferry Tour, but T4, T5 in his last 2 starts there, comes out, wins the Bank of America, has a T18 at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Yes, he missed the cut last week. Yes, he didn't play his best. That's fine. In an open field like this, where long shots tend to shine, it's a short course. You can't really hit it out of play unless you try. 300-1 for a guy with this much upside, I'm all in. This might be my only full unit play just because of the potential return on it.
Yeah, this tournament definitely has a history of rookies being able to get in the mix. And so I love these plays. There are so many more that are 300-1 or longer. I don't know if you have anybody else that you still left to highlight, but like, gosh, I'd love to just like come in here. Like I know you get Austin Eckroat at 200 to 1. I've seen love for Austin Smotherman at 450 to 1. Carl Phillips 500 to 1. Brian Campbell won 2 events last year on tour, and he's 2,000 to 1. I mean, I don't think Brian Campbell's winning this week, but the numbers here, my hometown guy here in Minnesota, Frankie Sappin III, 900 to 1.
Yep.
And that is a guy that we know can fill it up. So do I see those guys? Do I see Frankie Sappin hoisting the trophy this week? Probably not. Can you get insane numbers on these guys? Yes. And I think that's why, like, if you hang in this 150 to 1 and longer spot, you are going to probably find yourself a winner and have a massive payoff at the same time. This is like the only week you can do that.
Yeah. I mean, you have 2 former winners in the field who are at 500 and 700 to 1 respectively. Like, how often does that happen? You know what? It happens at the American Express. Before we wrap up here, just a few props that I like. As I mentioned, I like playing the ladder a little bit more this week than full-blown outrights. But Siwoo, top 20 finish, you can get that at plus 200 on DraftKings. Akshay Bhatia, top 20 finish, you can get that at plus 290. And perhaps my favorite of all, Michael Brennan, top 20, you can get that at plus 850. So even some opportunities to make, something on a top 20 play of some of these guys that we like, at least enough to mention as outrights. But playing the ladder, I think, is going to be where the money can be made this week a little bit more. But guys, that has been it for us over at the 19th hole. Mike, why don't you tell the people where they can find you, where they can follow you?
Yep, I'm on X at Mount Coz, as well as at RTG Podcast DFS Reading the Green. We're not doing our podcast anymore, but we do a expert aggregation model where we kind of keep track of how well writers and content creators pick players week to week. It's kind of a fun angle, so that is in the mix. Hit us up if you want to know anything about DFS. We're all in over there.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter as well at Parry_FF. You can find me with all things in between media. As always, guys, if you liked the show, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our content. But we will see you all next week.